Welcome to a new episode of the Superpowered Fancast. This is Darren. On this new episode of the Fancast, I got to interview another creative team and talk about their comic book series, The Witch Wolf. Dani Carr and her wife, Bree Williams, are the creative force behind this comic book series that blends romance, magic, werewolves, vampires, witches, and more. Now, Dani is a professional writer and lore keeper who I was lucky to have on the show before, and Bree is a writer and artist who have come together to create this series, and I am lucky to get to talk to them about their work, their process, and the unique nature of their collaboration. So without further ado, here's my interview with Bree Williams and Dani Carr. Bree Williams and Dani Carr, thank you so much for being on the Superpower Fancast. I really want to talk to you all about the Witch Wolf and your process of bringing it to life. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much, Darren. We're so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Thank you. Well, the first question I always ask, and I always ask this, especially of writers and specifically comic book writers, because this is what this is. The Witch Wolf, even though it's a web comic, it is in fact a comic book, and it's a comic book like series I've become really immersed in. So my first question is, and again, I always ask this, is, were there any like comics or stories that kind of influenced the Witch Wolf in any way, or were there any that inspired you to want to write a comic, like any that you had read or are currently reading that you looked at and were just like, you know what, I could, not only can I do this, but this is why I love about the genre.
Absolutely. I for one, comics go in, comics come out.
Mhm.
And I love comics, and I've wanted to make comics since I was a kid because I've been reading comics forever. So for the Witch Wolf, for me specifically, we talk all the time about how some early pieces of media that we absorbed became just like an intrinsic part of our work and our
Yeah.
theming, and you can still see it today. For me, it's the comic strip Bone, which was, I think, one of my early, like, oh, I want to make
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to make comics.
What was the magazine it was in? Like
Disney magazine.
That was
Disney
it.
Adventure magazine.
That was it.
Uh-huh.
Was it Nickelodeon? No, Disney.
No, it was Disney Adventure magazine, and I would stand in the checkout line and read Bone and not buy the magazine. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And
We didn't have the 55 cents that the magazine cost.
we did not. Things were rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, like stuff like Bone, a couple of early X-Men runs.
Oh, yeah, for
did a lot
sure.
for me.
Yeah.
And you can absolutely see in everything I do that my like one early viewing of Princess Mononoke when I was like 9 crawled into my head and comes out in my work in everything I do.
Yeah.
What about you, baby?
So I vividly remember one of the very first comics that I ever read. I grew up watching the X-Men animated series with my sister, my sister Sherry, and she had X-Men comics. I was not allowed in Sherry's room, but I very specifically remember sneaking into Sherry's room to go find her X-Men comics, sitting down, and the first one that I read was the Kitty Pryde Wedding to the Morlocks.
Oh, that one was so good.
Yes, because that was the one I'm like 7,
Yeah.
or 7 or 8 or something, and that's the one that she's looking panicked and in a wedding dress
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
cover, and I was like, I'm gonna read this one.
I love that you were immediately drawn to Kitty Pryde. I can see that over everything.
Yeah. So that was the first comic that I ever read, and I just fell in love and thought that it was the coolest way to tell a story in the entire world. And
Yeah.
I devoured comics ever since, and wanted to write comics, wanted to make comics. The first web comic that I started reading was in college, my freshman year of college. I had a friend who gave me I was like, oh, I've never read webcomics before. So he gave me a massive list, like a massive Excel sheet of his favorite webcomics. It had like dinosaur comics on it. It had XKCD. It had
Yeah.
questionable content, which I still read every day to this day. Um, and A Softer World was on it. Just so many classics. And I just devoured those. And for the Witch Wolf in particular, yeah, it really does all come back to just the medium in general. Lately, I take a
Yeah.
lot of inspiration from the horror of James Tynion the Fourth.
Yes.
I find and the character writing quality of Tom Taylor. Both of them, I love their work. They're both instant grabs for me. Every obviously this is I feel like naming Gail Simone is such an obvious pull, but
Mhm.
Oh, Gail
There's
Simone.
Gail
no, well,
Simone
yeah, I mean, there's
forever.
nothing. Yeah, you can
Um,
never
Just
not
because it's
mention Gail
obvious.
Simone as one of the best. So
I
Yeah, just
know.
because it's
it's
obvious doesn't
never
mean you
out of
shouldn't say
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
it.
I know Oracle was really important to
Oracle was
Bree.
really important. Oracle was my girl.
Hmm.
I also will say that for the art direction, as we get deeper into like fantasy forests and
Hmm.
like you'll see the quality of my inks has been changing and getting a little more detailed. And this is like the most obvious and also the least obvious pull, I think. But Berserk is a huge
Hmm.
influence on me right now.
Oh,
Like
what's the inker that you really love as well? Oh, what's her name?
Becky Cloonan.
Yes, Becky
Yeah.
Becky
Cloonan.
Cloonan's work.
Um,
I have always been like deeply obsessed with Becky Cloonan's inks. Like those like deep silky blacks.
yes.
Ugh.
And we would also be remiss to not call out people like Indy Stevenson,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lee Ostertag,
Yeah,
and
I'm deeply inspired by our peers in the
yeah,
space.
and people like Wendy Shu,
Mhm,
Trungles,
mhm,
just so many folks like that who
mhm,
were just we're just incredibly drawn to just as much of the work as
mhm.
we can take in. We try to take in.
Yeah.
That is God. That is so awesome to hear, especially for me. Like I've been reading comics since I was 8 years old, so I always love it when people continue to still be inspired by like the Chris Claremont X-Men
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
era, Studio Ghibli, like all of those
Mm,
things. And then
You'll
like he,
you'll see George Perez's work
yeah,
in all of my curls. In like I
mhm,
was so shaped by George Perez's run on Teen Titans,
yeah.
mhm.
and that work is going to be with me forever.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned like James Tynion, and I'm literally like before we started, I'm sitting here reading my copy of Nice House of the Dead.
Yes,
Like
Hey!
yes.
I love Tynion's work so much, and I've been
Mhm.
reading like so much Tiny Onion stuff. But um, but I'm so grateful that not only do they continue to inspire the way they inspire me, but that I can, like I can find and pick out little things that people are doing in their work that is wholly original, but still kind of brings me back to that feeling, and I appreciate that. But and for anyone who doesn't know, who hasn't heard, can you tell us what the Witch Wolf is about? Like just kind of like where the story kind of germinated from and what they can expect as they're reading.
The Witch Wolf is about a dwindling coven in a magic forest that is trying to keep a lid on the rising tension between the magical creatures of the forest, most particular the lichens and the vampires. But then all of that sort of starts to boil over when one of the sisters is accidentally bitten by her forbidden werewolf boyfriend. So that is essentially where everything that's the basic log line
Mhm.
for the story. Way that I kind of like to describe it is what if practical magic and what if you took practical magic and Crimson Peak and then added a little bit of ginger snaps in to taste, and that's kind of the stew that you end up making is the
Set
Witch
in the
Wolf.
90s.
Yeah.
Yes. This makes sense.
I definitely got that vibe from it as well.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, so we're kind of coasting into my, like, when I was becoming an adult,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
during that time. So I
100%.
was definitely getting that vibe
We're
from
both
it.
in our mid to late 30s, and
Mhm.
I have two older sisters. And to me, cool was whatever they were doing in 1997. So to me, like that was when they were in high school. That was when they were both just like the coolest people in the whole world to me. And I basically stopped there, and I've never gotten past it.
And we don't have to ride around cell phones.
Exactly, no cell
Yeah,
phones.
very true.
Not that there weren't
I
any. I feel like I say that, and people are like, "There were cell phones in the 90s." I'm like, "Yeah, but you had them in like your
mm,
car."
Yeah.
no, a couple of months ago I turned 50, and so you said 97. I'm like, God, that's the year I turned like 21. That was when I was,
Yeah.
Hmm.
I was,
A good
yeah,
year. Good year.
yeah, like I hadn't gone to college yet because I was going to take some. 'Cause I took some time off, so I did a lot of traveling. And I was living with a couple of roommates, working at a
Uh,
bookstore, having to walk past a strip club.
That sounds
It was,
amazing.
yeah, it was the like that was the those moments. Like there's nothing about my life now as an adult that I regret because I love everything of where I'm at now. But
mhm.
those times definitely hold a little special little place for me
Oh, for
just because
sure.
Yeah.
it was so much that was wrong but felt right at the time. So I really
Yeah, I feel like it's an interesting time to explore from the
yeah.
perspective of like setting media
Hmm.
because it is such it's a time where I don't know, like there was things were a little bit crunchy. There was a lot
Mhm.
of there was a lot of nihilism and a lot of optimism and
Hmm.
I feel like it was a time before we really didn't like understand fully the scope of the world we were living in.
Yeah.
And, it was it's an interesting time to look back on from where we are now.
Yeah.
And also to have the perspective of not of people who are specifically focused on the natural world,
Hmm.
and so they're not as focused on like the grand scope
Yeah.
of what was going on in the world in the 90s, but specifically the roots and the natural world itself. Like that's their focus.
Right.
That's their
Yeah,
core.
so it's not like deeply embedded in pop culture, but like pop culture elements of the 90s do pop up, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fun. You can kind of decide like when you've got people who are like, we live in the woods, you can kind of decide how much of your time period you want to let shine and how much can just be kind of timeless. Like
Yeah.
Callum lives in a cabin. Cabins look like cabins.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and you never want to get into the point where you're dating yourself for the story
Yeah.
in the
Hmm.
sense, and
Yeah.
especially in comparison to modern day, because that's one of the things I'm just like there's no era that didn't have its own issues, but I do like the fact that in the way you show the 90s in the sense of it kind of having these characters having to deal with each other more than having to deal with a
Hmm.
lot of the outside things around them
Yeah.
that I think you can run into, especially in modern day storytelling.
Yeah, it's a very, at the end of the day, it's a very intimate story.
Yeah, it allows us to keep it more contained
Yeah.
to the characters and their deeper connection to the world,
Hmm.
you know?
And to each other.
Yeah.
Like at the
Yeah,
end of the day, it's a story about sisters.
Hmm.
yeah,
It's a story about, it's like there are these big there's a love triangle, and there's all lots of big romance in it. It is very much a paranormal romance. But at the end of the day, it's really a story about these two sisters and how much they love each other and what they would do for each other.
yeah. So then, Danny, on that, I guess on that note, kind of, what is your philosophy of storytelling when you're when you're telling this story? Are there things that you specifically want to make sure are thematically present, or is it a story that just kind of germinates from one moment to the next? Like, is there
Oh.
like, yeah, and it's kind of going into like a process thing. Like,
Oh yeah.
are you like are you an outline writer, or are you like, hey, this is kind of what I want to see?
For sure, an outline writer. I have the whole story written out in an outline. We act
Mhm.
before we ever put pen to paper. So what we do is we actually do text RP with each other.
Our process is really unusual.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I want to hear. So,
yeah, we tend to like take the perspective of the characters and we talk to each other in their voice. Like we use
We write together.
mhm,
Yeah, we role
yeah.
play.
Okay.
yeah, and
And our stories always start as play first.
mhm,
Like they always
Mhm.
start from just a place of us telling each other a story.
yeah,
And it moves out from there, and we've told each other this story in 1,000 different ways already.
yeah,
And it germinated slowly over time into becoming like a more condensed story.
yeah,
So before we ever sat down to actually make this into a concrete project, we understood like the scope of the arc.
yeah.
Like
We knew
we
who the characters were.
Mhm.
We knew the details and intimacies of their lives already.
And the big things that were going to happen and how it
hmm
ends and
So
all the
I
big points.
Yeah, so I sat down and wrote a whole outline. Like the way that we do it is we have chapters that are separated into four parts.
Right.
There will be a couple of interludes that might be only one or two chapters. Those I'll only know once I actually start writing them. Be like, oh no, this interlude needs to be two parts, not just one. But for now, it's still just four parts for each chapter, and I wrote out the full outline for every single part for every single chapter, so that I knew like okay, in chapter one part three I need to introduce Ellen Callum and at the very end introduce David. I needed to establish that Elle doesn't go outside very much. I needed to establish that Callum has a big family. Needed to and like to start getting their sense of flirtation.
Right.
Um, and so things like that. It's sometimes the outline is really granular depending on what exactly is that has to happen in there. Sometimes it's I need to be establishing these things. I know that they're going to be talking. I know that Esme is going to be a big part of this one chapter. I don't know, chapter six, part three or something. I'm just pulling that. I don't remember. But in like Esme is going to be a part of that one, and she's going to be talking to the guys, and we're going to learn about a little more about the coven, or we're going to learn a little bit more about like how Esme's magic works. And I don't know exactly how that conversation is going to work, but I do know that's what I need to work on. And then for theming, the themes of the Witch Wolf are extremely important to me. It's very much a story about hope. It is very much a story about perseverance and and love. Like, I mean, and I know that sounds so simple,
No.
but it is so deeply, deeply important to me that it is shown that at the end of the day, love is what saves us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we both have themes that we are drawn to in our work, in our writing over and over. And for you, like it's very much love and connection, and
hmm
it's about spirits connecting
Yeah.
and finding shelter together. I am very drawn to writing about the natural world
hmm
and the cycles of life and death,
Yeah.
and like
Mhm.
those are always very present in my work. And I think knowing that we have these themes that are important to us helps us sculpt our projects and like keep those things in mind and sculpt our projects hopefully around the idea of eventually like achieving catharsis. And
Yes.
Right.
I think it helps to have those things in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And along those lines, I mean, just again, everything you all are talking about just leads into the collaboration process. And it's so interesting to hear because again, the two of you being married, you would you have that access to each other.
hmm
Yes.
Um, so do you it just sounds like the collaboration is kind of seamless in that regard, but taking those two different themes that you all enjoy, have there ever been any things that you have, I don't want to say argue about because that's reductive, but have there been like things that you've had to compromise on as far as in conversation, or was it just simply you've laid everything out so much that it just the writing process becomes easier.
There's definitely moments of compromise, and there's definitely moments of, but it doesn't feel so much like compromise so much as us just
Mhm.
working together to figure out how the story makes
Yeah.
the most
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Like I'll pitch ideas to Bree, and Bree will like be when Bree will be like, "Oh, we could do that." But I feel like, but I'm not sold on it yet, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, you're
Mhm.
right. And then I'll try to come at it from another angle, and then Bree will pitch an idea, and it's like, okay, that's interesting. Can we work in this as well? And it's less about a compromise and more about us both just working together to sort of figure out what serves the story best and what makes us both excited.
Yeah, very
Um,
much. Yeah, I don't feel like there is a tremendous amount of compromise really because I don't feel like we are trying to tell separate stories.
yeah.
I feel like we're both working together. And because I think it really helps that this story was very much born of just our play. You know,
Hmm.
it wasn't my idea and then I pitched it to her. It
Yeah.
wasn't Dani's idea and then she pitched it to me and got me on board. You know, it wasn't anybody's specific vision that somebody else is coming on board
Right.
to execute or to help with. It was something that we grew together so organically
Hmm.
that it like there are small compromises to be made, like scene directions or like I don't know, man. I don't know if we can get this in here. It might have to be cut or
Yeah.
like there is too much text on this page.
That one's a
So,
big one.
Yeah,
something
that's
like
because
that.
of like things like the editing process.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
we'll go through and Brie will come in and be like, I need to fix this I
Baby.
need to fix this bubble. What can I cut from this thing that they're saying? I'm like, okay, let me look.
I've been
I'm wordy.
I have been lettering this one bubble for 2 hours. Help me.
Um, so it's more things like that.
Mm,
And yeah, because like the entire story grew out of both of us really organically,
hmm.
and we already know where it's going. So it's a lot easier to move things around
Add stuff
or to
in.
add stuff. Yeah, it's more about adding
Yeah,
stuff.
it's really more about fleshing out because we
Hmm.
already have like a pretty rock solid roadmap,
Hmm.
and it's just about
Mhm.
now of like, oh well, I think this thing about Evie hasn't been like super well established, and we need to get that established before this big thing happens
Yeah.
because that's going to be relevant.
Yes.
Or like I don't feel like we've talked enough about the brood, or I
Mhm.
think we need more time with Elle and Will becoming friends,
Yes.
you know, stuff like
Right.
that. So we can sort of fill in as we go,
Hmm.
and that's really more of
You,
what it
and
is.
then it's like, okay, I know that we need to have this conversation, so let me make sure that I get a line in about this. Let
Yeah.
me make sure that I get something seated in here, so even if we don't have the full conversation, there's
I
context.
think that's honestly the trickiest part for
Yeah.
us is because we know this story so well and we know these characters so well. We have to be careful that we are not taking for granted that
Hmm.
other people know things that we haven't said
Mhm.
Yeah. I
yet.
reread the story a lot, and to make sure that like, okay, I haven't said this yet.
Yeah, I'm like,
We also release a lot of behind the scenes and world building and
mhm,
extra
Yeah.
world building and things like that on our
mhm.
Patreon.
Yeah.
So it's also like, okay, what have I said to the Patreon, but I haven't actually said in the comic yet.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
very important to make sure that that's why I reread it so much is because it's like, okay, I've established this and I've established this. Let me make
What
sure.
have we made canon yet?
Yeah. And okay, I haven't established this yet, so let me make sure that in this either in this next update or in the update after that or something like that, I need to make sure there's a line in there
Yeah,
about this thing, that kind
yeah.
of stuff.
Right. And then going into what you were talking about, especially with the writing process, I mean, you are, you know, as far as lore goes, um, is it because you both of you seem to be like playing to your strengths as far as the
Hmm.
writing process.
Yeah.
So were it was the lore something easy to establish, or is it something that's still kind of evolving between as the story progresses, or was it
It's
like something you did beforehand?
it actually kind of came out in sort of in the process of writing the story, like we knew the characters really intimately, and we knew but like the world itself, I consider myself a very weak world builder.
She's not. She
Um,
considers herself one, but she's not.
Yeah,
we're
I'm gonna
we're very
disagree with that.
lucky that we have an absolutely fantastic cultural consultant in
Mm,
Mateus Nogueira,
hmm.
and he has really helped us in not just bringing the Samoan cultural aspects of Will and his background into the story, which are so important, but he's also a phenomenal world builder.
He
And
is. He's
so
gifted.
there are times that I'll just go, Mateus, help me. I need to figure out why this thing is happening, and neither Bree nor I can figure out why. And then he'll come in with like a question or an idea, and I'm just like, that's brilliant. You're perfect.
Yeah,
And
the world building, like the lore of the world building has evolved, I think, more slowly than the characters in the story.
yeah, for
Right.
sure.
And we have been like filling in as we go. And we went in with like a broad understanding of like these girls live on an island. That
Hmm.
island is
Mhm.
mostly forest. And that was inspired by me living in the Northwest for many
Hmm.
years and a trip to a Scottish island
Hmm.
and a whole bunch of stuff. But like, okay, we want witches and we want magic to be normal. Like, we want people to know that it's there. And then we
Right.
just kind of went with this like loose framework
Hmm.
and we've been building out around
Yeah,
there.
it was a very loose frame. That's why in chapter one, part one, we established like, oh, okay, werewolves are known. Like
Hmm.
it is clear that like witches and werewolves and vampires and magic are something that the general world knows about, and it is not a they don't know about it deeply, but they
Mhm.
know that these things do exist. And
Yeah.
it's very, like I imagine that all of the media that we have about werewolves has been made. Like we have the
Mhm.
movie The Wolf Man.
Yeah.
We have Wolf with Michael Douglas. Was it Mike or Michael Keaton? I don't remember.
It was
There's
a wolf with Jack Nicholson. Are you talking about that's the one you were talking about, or
Oh my God, was it
Hmm.
Jack Nicholson? I saw it
oh
at
That's
a
yeah,
hilarious.
drive-through. I mean,
that was
at a
good.
drive-in when I was like four.
Yeah,
Isn't the Jason Momoa movie also just named Wolf?
Wolves.
Wolves.
Wolf.
Yes.
No, yeah,
Wolves.
Wolf was Jack Nicholson and James Spader. I remember that because I remember the scene where they're in the. I remember when they're in the bathroom and like just like out, like almost sniffing at each other, and Jack is
God.
so
I
trying to intimidate him, so he's just like peeing on his
Oh, that's
shoes.
I
hilarious.
need to
Just
watch
Bree
this.
yeah,
loves James
yeah.
Spader.
I love James
Oh,
Spader.
it's Jack Nicholson, James Spader, Michelle Pfeiffer. That movie
Yes,
Oh
is
Michelle
my
Pfeiffer. I
God.
vividly remember
movie
Michelle
is
I
Pfeiffer.
haven't seen
Yeah, I
this.
remember watching it when I was very, honestly, too
I haven't
young.
seen this.
yeah.
And
Oh, you
I
need to
love
watch.
wolves and James Spader.
yes.
Yeah,
Um, okay, well now we know we have to watch this movie.
Now we know what
yeah,
we're doing.
I don't remember anything about it except that there's
I
werewolves and
don't
Michelle
care.
yeah.
Pfeiffer.
It's the weird.
That's all
It's
I
the thing.
need.
It's such a great movie, and it's so weird that I think it's like they're like book publishers. And I was like, that is such an a weird connection to make,
That is
I love
but
hilarious.
it.
I love it. It's a great movie. Definitely check it out.
Ow.
But we imagine that these movies have been made and that
Yeah.
that these books have been written and like The Craft came out and things like
Hmm.
that. So like the world knows that there is
It's
and
like a fun thing to make movies about. It's a
yeah,
fun concept, but the average person doesn't have a lot of contact
yeah.
with a magical
Because they're both
person.
because
Yeah.
all of it's very rare, and so whenever they do like
Like, it exists, but you probably haven't seen it for
yeah, you
yourself.
probably don't know a werewolf. You probably don't know a vampire. You might maybe know a witch, but
Mhm.
that's probably unlikely.
Right.
But yeah, so it's very much part of wanting to ensure that the magic felt tangible
Present.
and present
Right.
while also still being not something that every single person had access to. And those were things that we knew going in, but we weren't exactly sure what the scope of that really was. We
Yeah,
didn't know the
yeah, we
details.
knew that that was what we wanted to execute. We didn't know exactly how we were going to execute that. And the world building has kind of flown, like, I guess, come out of that, like that
Hmm.
one concept.
Yeah.
And then from the world building, from a artistic uh interpretation. Like Bree, like what did you want the look of the world to be? Like, were there anything, the things that inspired you as far as the look of the art in it? Because I love the visual style of it, especially
Thank
like there's
you.
so many great like the so many great like hues of color just
Hmm.
between
Thank you.
yeah, just
Um,
with characters talking, just having them kind of pop out of the background as far as, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no, no, no. I really appreciate continue telling me how great you think my color work is. No, 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 for sure. I knew that I wanted it to feel lush. Like I knew that I wanted this project to feel lush, and I like it's a moving target, honestly. Because the Witch Wolf is our personal project, and we have, full control over it, and this is our kind of our heart project.
Hmm.
I always want to put as much into it as I can. So I made myself a deal that I wouldn't worry too much about keeping pages, like keeping the look of the pages consistent from like chapter 1 to chapter 6 or whatever. And
Hmm.
I would worry more about pushing myself and improving and figuring out what kind of comic artist I am through this project. So it's kind of been a little bit of a moving target. I knew like those first updates, they were at night and at sunset. So I knew I wanted them to be my color palettes to be deep and lush. I wanted to pull on like deep blues and bright oranges for lighting, and to feel sort of gauzy and romantic,
Yeah.
and I wanted the tree at sunset, that giant tree that Ellen Callum climbed, to be beautiful, that kind of thing. But it kind of it moves. It moves as I get better, and it moves as my inspiration shift. Like we recently had an update where Elle had a dream. She
Hmm.
had a dream, and the vampires were, you know, influencing her
Hmm.
dream. And I specifically pulled the color palette from that. The base color, it's all in monochrome because I wanted a significant shift from the rest of the comic to let people know that this is the dream state.
Hmm.
This is different. So I pulled a single tone of like deep night blue from a still of Nosferatu, because
The
that
original
was
one.
the original, yeah, because that's where I was taking like a great deal of my inspiration, and I wanted it to be a little like mwah, and just a little love letter. Like that update is almost entirely a love letter from me, from to Nosferatu and La Belle et la Bête,
Hmm.
Yeah.
the like 1920s Beauty and the Beast film.
Hmm.
Um, and so I pulled out from that one shade and tried to like go deeper and lighter and gauzier and richer, and just pull out sort of a misty dream from a single tonality. And yeah, that's just kind of been the direction I've been going with that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you can absolutely tell because the two, literally the two moments you were talking about. Like, because I remember the moment with the tree, and I was
Mhm.
noticing the moss covering it, and
Yay!
the visual
I'm so
contrast between.
glad.
I was so, I mean, I'm just, but yeah, it was. I look at it because I when I was a kid, I thought I'd be an artist, but I'm not. But I keep looking at, but my love of comics is also the love of not only the story but also the visual and how
Yeah.
both of them tell the story. So yeah,
It
I'm
has
looking
to.
at the yeah,
That's the beauty of comics.
absolutely. So I'm looking at the visuals of that, and then I'm looking at the dream when you were talking about, and just like the almost kind of gothic
Hmm.
tones in the background, and
Hmm.
loving that as well. So I'm glad that I'm right about how I was
Yes.
the
Yes.
person I'm the person that
You're doing
actually
great.
drew
I'm
it.
glad that I like, because it's not on you to be right, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
on me to communicate my intention.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that it's coming through so clearly. It's like I think of color, specifically in comics. I think of everything I do as like we only have like usually 8 pages in an update to tell as much story as we possibly can. And, that's not that much space. And you can only tell so much with words. So, like, the rest of like, Dani writes the scripts, and the rest of the real estate is mine to make those words count as much as I can. So, I use everything in my toolbox, color and light and shifting between, times of like deep color and desaturated panes and moving my camera around and that kind of thing, all to try and tell more story, like to tell as much story as we can.
The facial expressions, like Bree's ability to capture character expressions is my absolute favorite. There's certain things that I know that I'll write in the stage, in like the stage directions of the panel descriptions, and it's like, I want David to look smug. I want Elle to look anxious. I want Elle to look nervous, and like, and I'll go deeper, but I'll go deeper, and it's like Elle is feeling unsure. Elle is attracted but nervous, and isn't sure what to do in this moment. And there's going a little bit more deeper, going deeper into what they're feeling, because I know that I can trust Bree to translate that to the page.
Yeah, and I love the the visual consistency of it, because even if things are changing in certain things, just like the character designs, I love a lot. I love the freckles. I just love seeing them.
Yay! I also
Because
love the
again,
freckles.
it's one of those things that's just, it's so consistent to the character, and it makes the character kind of stand out as someone unique visually.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But where, without spoiling, just kind of where next is the story going to go? Like, you said you've already got it all planned out. So is it just like, is it coming upon a bigger arc that we can look forward to, or is
Yes.
there, okay. And
Well, it's so Elle has started having her dreams, and Evie has gotten through the hard part of being bitten by a werewolf much faster than anyone anticipated, including the two werewolves in the room. And so it's very much, does Evie embrace the change? Does she try to fight it? What do these dreams mean for Elle? What is going to, will they discover anything about, they're going into kind of a research mode to sort of try to figure out.
We're getting into the mystery.
Yes.
We're getting into the mystery arc of why is this happening, and why don't we know about it?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we know enough about what's going on?
Yeah. Has a witch ever become a werewolf before? Or has a werewolf ever shown signs of witch-like magic? That sort of thing. And but then also uncovering a little bit more about what can then come next. We're going to meet a few extra characters soon. We're going to meet a little bit more of Will and Callum's families. And
we get to meet Will's uncle Ori, who we've mentioned before, and I'm very excited about that.
He's the story keeper for the pack. And then we get to meet Callum's mom, and we get to meet Callum's brother. And
we get to see more from the Brood.
Yeah.
We get to see a lot more from the Brood. I'm very excited to get into like actual character work for the Brood, because they've kind of just been on the periphery. But they are all fully fleshed out characters with their own dynamics and their own like wants and needs. So I'm excited that we get to get into that a little bit more. But yeah, there's a big mystery arc coming up, and a bit of an action arc coming up.
Yeah. But yeah, right now it's really about them trying to piece together this strange thing that has happened to them, and also figuring out how,
without blowing everything. They're still trying to hold it together, and they're like, maybe we can fix it. Maybe we can fix it.
Elle definitely is still on the maybe we can fix it train.
Yeah, Elle's like, I can get glue.
Yeah,
we can fix it.
I'm a healer. I fix things. That's what I do.
And the wolves are like,
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
But they're humoring her.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we're gonna look into it.
Okay, all right, we're gonna try to fix it. So right now we're gonna try to fix it.
Hmm.
Then along those lines, I would ask, like, Bree, are there any are there any things that you are set to draw that maybe have you a little bit are there things that you're gonna have to like push yourself visually to draw that you
Yes.
may have never drawn before?
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Like I will say I think the Witch Wolf taught me how to draw. Like
Okay.
straightforwardly. I've been drawing my whole life. I've always wanted to make comics. I've been making comics for, a long time, but this is my first long form project
Hmm.
that I
Mhm.
have, been working on every month without fail for a year and a half now.
God, every day,
Yeah, every
practically.
day more or less. Um, and I have learned, like, I'm completely self-taught. I did not go to art school at all. I didn't go to school. It was a little bit feral. Um, but this, like, it taught me how to draw. It taught me how to draw interiors. It taught me how to draw backgrounds. It taught me how to do basically everything I'm proud of being able to do now. And I'm so grateful, but it is going to get a lot harder.
Yeah.
And there's stuff I'm so excited to draw too. Like there are like you set out to make something like this, like you set out to write a book with a passage in your head, and that's the one that
Hmm.
you're really excited to get to, but it's at like
Mhm.
the end of the book, and you have to build everything around getting to that passage that you're really, really excited to write. There are things that I am so excited to draw, and I'm not going to get to draw them for like 200 pages, but it's fine. It's fine. It's
Well,
going
it's
to
the
be
fact that
great.
well, it's the fact that you're excited about it that
Yes.
Hmm.
that
And
that is
there's other
encouraging.
stuff that's even like that's coming up sooner that we're excited for. Like I wrote a whole thing with a gazebo of
Yeah, I
ghosts.
get to learn how to get good at drawing the interior of a gazebo.
Mhm.
I get to get real
But also you get to
good.
establish what our ghosts look
I
like.
do.
Yeah.
I get to figure out like the mansion with Elle's Dream was like my first
The manor,
real the
yeah.
manor, yeah, was my first real foray into like building and drawing highly architectural Gothic
Hmm.
Mhm.
backgrounds. I was like, oh God,
A lot of lines.
a lot of lions, baby,
I
not a
usually
lot of
always
work.
in I usually always hear from artists that the two things that are kind of like the banes of their existence are both like either drawing horses or crowd scenes. So
Mm,
just
I actually we have some horses coming up.
we
I'm very
do.
excited. And I had the opportunity because we're also working on a super secret graphic novel.
Hmm.
And in that graphic novel, there are so many horse shots, so many horse
We have a
shots.
shapeshifter, we have a puka.
Uh-huh.
mm,
And she transforms into a stallion.
Hmm.
And we actually had the opportunity to go do some horse studies with up at a stable. Our
Hmm.
friend Adri was kind enough to let us come watch her ride and do some horse anatomy studies. And
Hmm.
wow, that helped. That helped a
Yeah.
lot. So horses and I, we get along a lot better now, but
Yes.
crowd shots still make me kind of want to die.
Luckily, we don't have a ton of those.
Yeah. It helps to set it in the woods.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a very tiny town that
Yeah.
they live next
Mhm.
to, so
It's gonna end on a massive crowd
it is
shot.
going to end on a
It's gonna
massive
Yeah,
crowd
end on
yeah.
a
shot.
massive crowd shot, and I'm like,
Across the cityscape. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a problem for Bree of like 3 years from
Yeah, that's
now.
that's
It's
very much
fine.
future Breeze
They
problem.
can deal with it
Definitely
then. It's fine.
crossing that bridge when you come to it kind of moment.
Yeah,
Exactly.
100%.
So are there any plans for a physical copy of the Witch Wolf? Like just like kind of like a graphic novel to be sold in like, your
Loosely.
local comic book shop.
Loosely. We definitely want to. We want to make a physical
Mhm.
copy. I'm actually planning to print out chapter one in its entirety, so all four parts for for a couple of upcoming con appearances, so that we can kind of sell that first
We're
chapter.
doing it guerrilla, like a
Yeah,
zine.
Yeah.
making a zine.
We're just
Um,
gonna print them out, get a
How you
long
do it.
stapler,
yeah.
like we did in the 90s.
Um, and a proper print run probably wouldn't be for a while because I would
Yeah.
want
We would want here's a fun thing. We would want volume 1 to be done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would be want to be able to print that in one
Mhm.
in one sort of book of its own.
Mhm.
And so that's a while away.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't I don't think we'd want to separate them.
No,
Um,
volume one has to be its own, and
yeah.
it'll be about enough that we could either do it in one book or two.
Hmm.
The page, like, if we don't get too far away, we already have like a loose estimate on
Hmm.
our page or page number. So we have like a loose idea of what printing that would look like. We
Hmm.
might think about doing like a crowdfund, something like that.
Mhm.
But we also have a loose idea for volume two.
Hmm.
So they are very much like this is a two volume story.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we would like the idea, the ideal that we're both chasing is to be able to do a print run of two
Yeah.
volumes.
Right.
So that's way in the future,
Way in the
but
future. Gotta
but
make it first.
yeah, that's the eventual goal
Yeah.
is that yeah, we absolutely want it printed. We absolutely want it to be, we want it to be out in the world
Yeah.
and but it would not be for a while.
And it'll always be free
Yeah, it'll
online.
always be a free webcomic.
Always.
It will always be something that anyone can pick up and anyone can find and read.
Yes.
Because we don't want to comics are for everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of is there are there any other like stories that you're currently writing or drawing that
Hmm.
Yeah.
that
Yes.
We have a graphic novel that we're working on that we're in the middle of pitching right now,
Hmm.
and it's about it's very much a love letter to Irish folklore
Hmm.
and mythology, and also to my home of the South,
Hmm.
Appalachia in particular. I grew up in West Tennessee and spent a lot of time in East Tennessee, so. Really fell in love with Appalachia and
And
I
it's very much about the flow of stories
mhm,
from the British Isles, from Scotland and Ireland, into the Scotch Irish in Appalachia, and
mhm,
how those stories formed and stayed alive and connected with others and
yeah,
became something new.
yeah.
Um,
And then I'm working on a novel.
Prose novel.
Yes, working on a prose novel, and Bree is also working on a standalone on a standalone comic.
Standalone horror graphic
Yeah,
novel.
yeah.
Yeah, that's in like the far future. But I do have the outline. I know, roughly. I have an idea of how I want to approach it.
Hmm.
So once we get through a super secret graphic novel,
Yes.
get through that pitch process, I'll be turning the energy I don't spend on the Witch Wolf to that project.
Yes.
well
So
then along yeah,
we're
I'm
always
sorry.
cooking.
Perfect. Well, I always and this is the probably one of the last questions I usually always ask, especially comic book people, is if there were, and it's if you could pitch an idea for a character, like a character that you love,
Mhm.
to like one of the big publishers, uh,
Hmm.
you- not without telling me the story, what would the character be and why that specific one?
Ooh.
Just a character. I mean, I'd pitch Evie
Oh,
because
do you mean
Well,
like
my the last interview I did with Taki Soma,
mhm.
she had she was a huge fan of like she wanted to do God, I don't know if it was Mr. Miracle or if it was
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah it was just kind of like a take she had on a character that she really loved. Was that
Hmm.
something that
Oh,
like
that's
is there
fun.
yeah is there like a comic book character that you were like I have the perfect story I could write for this character?
Oh yeah, for
Ooh.
sure. Um, do you want to go first?
I honestly, I have a story in my back pocket for Zatanna.
Hmm. Zatanna,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, just
Love
like right there.
Hmm.
I would let me
Zatanna was also one of my
Zatanna,
one of my
yeah.
go-tos.
I would love like let me get on that girl's effects.
Yeah.
Let me draw a magical
We
let me
would
draw
be
a
a
magical
great
adventure for
we
Zatanna.
would be a great Zatanna team because I love Zatanna. I love Constantine.
Yeah,
I love
Yeah.
Danny
Constantine.
loves Constantine.
Um, and
Mhm.
so I would love to write a story with the two of them and
Hmm.
maybe maybe lean a little into Tim Hunter
Yeah.
from Books of Magic.
Exactly.
I'd love to do something with that.
Let
Uh,
me let me draw her. Let me
yeah.
draw her in all of her tails and fishnets.
Yes.
Let me draw a magical adventure for my girl. I would make you so much money. Just piles of money.
Um,
You
I
listening, DC?
also I also really, really love the X-Men, and so
Mhm.
I would do anything to get any member of the X-Men, honestly, would be crazy. My favorites are Rogue and Gambit.
Hmm.
I love them and would do anything to be able to write them at some point. But I
I'm also my like it's never going to happen, but I put it out into the world all the time because it's a heart goal. I want to draw the graphic novel adaptation of the In the Hands of the Immortals series
Really?
by Tamara Pierce.
yeah.
Yes, like she's a a fantasy author,
Yeah, yeah.
wrote a lot of fantasy YA, and I don't think there have been graphic novel adaptations of her work out. Obviously, the Song of the Lioness quartet would go first, but
Mhm.
let me draw adaptations of those
Is this
books.
the Dane one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Let me
Okay.
draw adaptations of her work. I'm putting it into the universe. I'm
Yeah.
manifesting
Yeah.
it. It would be
Well, here's the
wonderful.
thing, like everything, kind of comes around. Like I remember, growing up as a kid, like some of my favorite books were made into graphic novels, and so
hmm
and it not only made me like read the graphic novel, but then made me go and read the actual book. So
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think I read like a 1980s graphic novel version of The Lord of the Rings before I read the first book.
Oh,
So
that's
Yeah.
so cool.
yeah,
Yeah, it's helps. It like
hmm
lots of kids prefer, getting their information through a graphic novel or through a comic book first.
hmm
And there was I think it's still going, a run of graphic novel adaptation of the Animorph series, and it's
hmm
fantastic. It's so good. I think there's so much space right now for properties that were, big for kids
hmm
in the 90s and the early 2000s to be adapted into really fresh graphic novels.
yeah.
And I'm shooting my shot.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm looking at like just the new crop of comics that have been coming out for, I'd say, for like the last 2 years have
hmm
basically just been plucking IP from my childhood from the
Yeah.
80s. So
hmm
it's just
Yeah.
like there's like Thundercats and Silverhawks and Beetleborgs and all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
there's
just
there's a
like
garden of options.
Mask, G.I.
I'm
Joe, all
sure
that. Yeah.
I'm sure the Redwall comics will be a fruitful
I'm
garden.
sure that
It
exists.
must. It must.
Christmas.
Little
So
mice with good
cute.
food.
All the
Yeah.
food.
I know.
I love you, Redwall Feast Spot.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
like I could pitch all day.
Yeah.
the Witch Wolf is on Webtoons. Is there anywhere else that people can find the Witch Wolf, or do they
Mhm.
need to
Yes.
go? Yep.
Thewitchwolf.org is our main website. We mirror on Webtoon as well. And also we have a Patreon, patreon.com/thewitchwolf, where you can support us for just $1. Um,
We have a Discord. We have
yes.
a great little community. And yeah, we are currently self-hosted at thewitchwolf.org.
hmm
It's currently a Tumblr address,
hmm
but our goal this year is to build out a bespoke website and
Yeah.
have just everything centralized and start building out a web ring of
hmm
other comic artists we know.
Yeah. We really want to be able to be able to give all the love, give as much love as we can to all the creatives in the space that
Hmm.
we possibly can.
Yeah. Now we'll have all of those links definitely available in the description of this episode. But also, if Dani and Bree, if you wanted to be followed on social media, and this is always a question, if you wanted to, where could they where could they find you?
I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram. On Blue Sky, I am it's Dani Carr, and on Instagram, I am this Dani Carr.
I am also on Blue Sky and Instagram. I am Larkspurns, basically everywhere.
Mhm.
That's Lark Spur NS. Yeah, makes sense.
Uh,
I'm much more active on Blue Sky than I am on Instagram.
we also have an Instagram for the Witch Wolf. It's just the.witch.wolf.
Hmm.
Yeah, those are the main ones. I
Hmm.
think it's mostly just those. And I'm
Yeah.
also we and again the Tumblr as well,
Hmm.
but that's
Yes.
thewitchwolf.org. So
And does the Wish Wolf publish like monthly or weekly? What's kind
Every
of
full moon.
hmm
every full month?
yep.
Oh.
So and in May there are two full moons.
Hmm.
So May we'll have two updates.
Right.
You
Perfect.
Hmm.
Well,
It's so
got this.
nice.
You
It's
got
so
this,
yeah,
nice.
makes perfect sense. Dani and Bree, thank you so much for
Thank
Thank
being here.
you.
I
you.
Thank you so much
really
for having us. This
appreciate
was
it.
so lovely.
This was great. I really appreciated it.
Thank
I
you. Thank
really
you.
did.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Now I'll kind of like transition out from there, but
Yeah, yeah.
personally, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
so much,
time. This was
Darren.
so
Yeah,
lovely.
this was an absolute blast. It's always a pleasure
Yeah.
getting to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I really
Thank,
appreciate it.
yeah, thank you so much for talking to us about our work and having such good questions. I
Well,
really
Hmm
that's the
appreciate
thing.
it.
I love talking about the work, but I like just when the opportunity came, especially I think when I sent you that last email with like the exclamation points when you asked, if Bree could be on, I was oh perfect because it was like I really because like the collaboration process, especially with a married couple, I really wanted to kind of dive in and
Yeah.
hear
It's
what that
we have
was
an
like.
unusual process for
hmm
sure. I like at, on the occasion that people like ask us for like advice, collaboration advice,
Mhm.
it's like I don't know if I have anything that is applicable to a situation where you're not married to your collaborator.
Well, and that's the thing, because like the last interview I did was a collaborative team,
hmm
and two different. One is an artist, one is a writer, but they're both in the writing process, and then they're handing it off to an artist, and
Hmm.
they're completely two different situations. And then the
hmm
next interview I have after this one is with David Desmalchin. So you have
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
how cool!
yes, you have a writer and actor who
yeah.
is
Yeah,
hmm
filming, who's then collaborating with a writer, who's then also
that is so
collaborating with an artist.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just so many different perspectives on collaboration. I'm blessed to be able to uh to learn about.
Yeah, and I find that topic so interesting because everybody's
hmm
process is different.
Everybody's
Like
process is so
every
different.
collaboration team is
Exactly,
different.
Hmm
exactly, and that's kind of what I'm. That's not only what I'm discovering, but it's what I'm enjoying about the interviews
Yeah.
themselves. I think that's kind of what's
Fantastic.
informing the questions.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always so impressed by your questions and by the insight that you have, and so I just
Hmm.
really appreciate it. You're a phenomenal
Yeah, this
interviewer.
was a wonderful
Thank
interview.
you.
Thank you so
Ah,
much.
yeah, anytime. I would love to have you guys back.
Thank
Thank
you, Darren.
you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to let you